Hey everyone, we're going to be looking at box plots today. The last video you watched showed how to construct or create a box plot to represent a certain set of data points. Now we're going to be looking at box plots and interpreting the data, and also looking at the measures of center, spread, and shape. Let's go ahead and start by reviewing the parts of a box plot. On the left side, we start with our minimum or our least amount. That's our first point. And the whisker connects to our first quartile, which is the left side of the box. In the middle of the box, we have our median. On the right side of the box, we have our third quartile. And then that whisker connects to our maximum or our greatest number. Also, the distance of the box, the space between quartile 3 and quartile 1, tells us our interquartile range. We're going to go ahead and look at the shape of box plots first. Since we're given the median, we can actually use that point to see if it's symmetrical or not. Our first box plot, we can see on each side of the median that the box is about the same size and the whiskers are about the same. So we can say that this data set is fairly symmetrical when we look at the box plot. Now our second box plot, the box looks about the same, but our whiskers are not the same. One whisker is a lot longer than the other one. So this one is not as symmetrical. And the maximum on the second box plot could be a possible outlier, possibly. Now, shape is also going to help us with the next set. Measures of center. Now, our first question is median. So what do you think the median of this box plot is? Now, we know in box plots, our median, we actually don't have to calculate anything. It's the middle of the box here, so that point is going to be 9. Now, what about mean? Can we calculate mean from a box plot? We cannot calculate mean from a box plot because we have to know what all of the points are, and we actually don't know what each data point is, and we also don't know how many total data points there are. So we're not able to calculate mean from a box plot. But if you have a symmetrical box plot, you can make the estimate that the median and the mean are about the same. So you are able to do that. Next is measures of spread. Measures of spread, these questions are the most common for box plots because they're the easiest to identify. Let's go ahead and start with range. Knowing what you know about range, what would be the range of this box plot? So to calculate range, we're going to look at our minimum and our maximum, which are our least and our greatest. These values are 14 and 16. So we're going to subtract those to calculate our range. That gives us a range of 8 for this data set. Next, we're going to calculate the interquartile range. Based on this box plot, what do you think the interquartile range is? So for the interquartile range, we subtract quartile 3 minus quartile, minus quartile 1, there we go, and that gives us our interquartile range. The good thing about a box plot is that we don't have to list out the data points. It's already in the box plot. So remember, Q3 is our point on the right side of the box, and Q1 is our point on the left side of the box. So Q3 is right between 10 and 11, so that's going to be 10 and 5/10. Q1 is right between 7 and 8, so that's going to be 7 and 5/10. And when you subtract it, you get an interquartile range of 3. So that is the space between the first quartile and the third quartile in our box. Now, for interpretation. Most interpretation questions, because we don't know how many points are in the data set, we have to look at how the data is distributed. So I want to remind you that the reason why we say the words quartiles is because a box plot cuts the data into 4 sections. So that means that 25% of the data falls in each section. The first whisker is 25% of the data. The first half of the box is 25%. The second half of the box is 25%, and the right whisker is also 25% of the data. So it's cut into quarters or fourths. Now what that also means is, since we have the median in the middle, that means everything below the median represents 50%. That is 50% of the data. And then above the median is going to be your other 50% of the data points. This is also half. So you may be asked questions about the upper half, the lower half, or just half of the data set. So you have to remember that above the median is 50% or half, below the median is 50% or half, and each section represents 25%. These are the types of questions you'll be looking at for box plots, and you can use this video to refer